Welcome back to another episode of Small Town Talk podcast brought to you by the Small Town Boys, myself, John Travis.
And myself, Mason Campbell.
Mason, you wanna let them know what we're gonna be talking about today?
Okay, so if you notice, me and John both have pieces of paper laying in front of our desk, and we thought that it'd be a good way to start it with what are some good habits, daily habits that you can put in your life to kind of improve a little bit, improve the way that you go about things or the way that you tackle certain tasks. Because, let's be honest, everybody needs a little help along the way with how they can overcome certain things. Obviously, we need it.
100%.
So, if we can help out one or two people, it'll be worth it.
Absolutely. I think you said that pretty well. And from the get-go, me and Mason had talked about kind of the overall theme of this podcast, and definitely is to two things. We'll put a smile on people's faces, hopefully. I think we do that pretty easily just because we're
just because we're idiots.
Stupid idiots.
It happens.
But another thing is to get people motivated and to go and do things that they actually want to do.
Because let's be honest, life's short.
Life's short.
You only got one life to live.
And your life don't really begin until you realize you only got one.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we have a few little pointers, and we'll kind of just go through and then talk about it. So go ahead and start, Mason.
So I'll just start at the very top and we'll work our way down instead of just jumping everywhere. So my first one says, always take pride in what you're doing. So whether you're a construction worker, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a nurse, whether you're a teacher, you always got to take pride in the situations that you are in your life.
Yeah, I take that one kind of hard because in not a lot of things, but like the pictures that I take for people,
yep.
If I do any videos or anything like that, I'm like a very, very bad like perfectionist.
Oh yeah.
And that's a good and a bad thing because I will spend way too much time worrying about something that really isn't a big deal.
But to you it is.
But to me it is. And yeah. I always try. I do take pride in my work, but I always feel like it's just not quite good enough.
The reason I say that, to take pride in your work, is because, if somebody comes up, okay, so I used to pour concrete for a living. Like we pour walls, we pour columns, and at the end of the day, whenever somebody comes up and they look at that wall or that column that was poured, they're going to be like, well, who poured that? Or whose product was that? And you want them to say that you poured it and done it. You don't want them to be like, well, I think so-and-so done it, and then you're like, yeah, I done it. You want it to look good enough that whenever somebody sees your product, they're like, oh, I know exactly who did that.
Mm-hmm.
They take their time, looks good, the product's good. You don't have to worry about them.
Yeah.
There's a sense.
And a lot of people will always remember your mistakes other than your successes. So like it might not even be your fault specifically, but if you mess up on it, you could have got a bad batch of concrete. Weather could have been wrong, could have dried too fast, whatever. Yep. But forever now to that person, anyone he talks to, you're no longer a recommendation because
your work looks like crap.
They don't care what you did the past 15 times. They care about what they see in front of them right now.
Yep, they care about, well, what does this product look like?
Yeah. Compared
to, oh man, he done 30 other things, the same things, and they look great, but there's that one that, I don't know if he's reliable or not. Just because when you're working for a major company or whatever, they're always going to try to put the blame on somebody else no matter what.
Oh yeah, that's anywhere you are.
They don't want the blame on them. So it's kind of like, how we was joking with Ella earlier. We said, we're the bosses, you're the CEO. We tell you what to do, and then in real life that's how it works. The boss.
It is.
It goes down through the chain, and if you mess up, you're going to talk to your boss about it. Well, your boss is going to rip your hind end over it. Well, his boss is going to rip his hind end over it, and his boss, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So you're really just starting that snowball effect with, oh, so I screwed that up?
Yeah.
Well, it's not my fault, Oh, but it is.
Yeah.
But you're right there.
But it is. Yeah, you could be so many leaps and bounds ahead of somebody in the company, and regardless of what happened, you are the boss of all of these people, and that mistake is going to land on you until it gets to the point where it is the head of whatever it is, and obviously it's not going to be his fault directly.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I left that old company that I was at, I was over the wall crew, and we're pouring. I think the first section of walls we had set on that job were 32 foot tall, if I remember correctly, and we were pouring half the walls at a time. Well, as we was pouring, you could look down that wall, and it had a slight bow in it.
Mm-hmm.
We had never used these forms before, none of that. That didn't matter.
No.
There's a bow in that wall.
Yeah.
And whose fault's that?
Yeah.
Because being the crew leader, or being the foreman, if you will, because we got superintendents and we got, like work foremans, you're supposed to check everything.
Yeah.
And even if you check it and it looks good beforehand, as you're pouring concrete or as you're doing anything in life, it's going to kind of manipulate over 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever time frame. So yeah, you can be like, well, I looked at that before we started. Great. Did you look at it in the middle? Did you look at it in the end?
Yeah. You check all your boxes every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah. Nope. No, you didn't. No, because that wall's got a bow in it, and you're in charge.
Yeah. But little does he know, Jimmy John was actually supposed to be in charge of that.
Yep.
And he was on a long lunch break and didn't do it. But hey, still your fault.
It's still your fault. And
still your fault.
At the end of the day, you got to be able to take that responsibility.
Yeah. It comes with the territory.
But that goes along with the taking pride in what you're doing. You want it to be good.
Yeah.
Like, you want to make sure that every time you touch something, it's your work and you're proud of that work.
Yeah. And just because you're bad at something doesn't mean you don't give maximum effort.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, that's a very good point, actually.
Yes. Just because, for example, when I started taking pictures, I was just naturally good at it.
Yeah.
And, well, in my opinion, I was naturally good. Well, actually, no, I take that back. In my opinion, I wasn't. In other people's eyes,
He was great.
I was good. So, because my cousin, he doesn't do it anymore, but he used to do weddings and stuff kind of on the side, just make a little bit extra money. So he knew a lot about this stuff. That's kind of how I got introduced to it and kind of sparked my interest in it. And, I took 10, 15 pictures with him one night. He's like, you got an eye for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my point is, I wasn't really thinking I was all that good.
Yeah.
I thought that I was pretty bad at it.
Maybe mediocre,
but that doesn't mean I didn't give maximum effort.
I mean, you were learning as you was going.
Because I feel like no matter what you do, if you give maximum effort, eventually a wall is going to break and you're going to get better.
Eventually. But who knows how long down the road that wall is going to break. But it's just like you said, you just got to keep your nose to the grindstone and be like, hey, if I want to be good at this, I got to give it everything I got every time I'm out here.
Yeah.
Or every time somebody calls me to take a picture, I got to, no matter whether it's good or bad, I'm going to learn from it one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way you just got to go in headstrong. And you got to take responsibility for the mistakes that you make too, because that'll help you grow as a person.
Yeah, because a lot of times, especially I see this in like mainly comments. If I see like someone posted a picture that they've taken or whatever, someone will be like, "Oh, well, the lighting's a little weird" or whatever this. But the person who posted that account is always defending himself. It's never, well, yeah, I just messed up.
Yeah, never take responsibility.
It's never, I messed up. I had this setting on my camera wrong, whatever. It's always, well, it was rainy and there was an extra drop of water that I didn't account for.
I thought it made it look good. And
take accountability. My number one thing is on my list is to remember that you have full control of your own life.
That's very ironic because I have something very similar to that on here too. So,
and what I mean by that is people's opinions do matter. Certain people's, not everyone's opinions matter.
Yeah.
Specific people.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, they don't control your life.
Absolutely not.
They don't get to tell you what you do.
Yep.
They don't get to tell you how you live your life. And it's so, like, I know a lot of people who listen to their friends give them bad advice, and I don't know if it's because they're too stubborn or if they just have, like, too much trust in their opinions of their friends or whatever. But at the end of the day, whatever it might seem to an outside source, if you think it's important to you, if you think it's something worth pursuing, if you think it's something worth keeping around in your life or getting rid of in your life, it's your life, your choice.
Yep.
Make it on your own.
I mean, there was something I'd read on, was it Facebook or TikTok or something, where it was along the lines of move in silence. You know, don't let everybody know your next move, because there's going to be people out there that will cut down every single reason that you're wanting to do it.
Yeah.
And they'll have an excuse for every single reason on why it won't work.
Prime example is this podcast.
Oh, yeah.
We have not told, very few people know about this.
Yeah. And I mean, me and you are pretty good at letting stuff roll off our back, though.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, there'd be some people that'd be like, dude, it's not going to work. You live in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
Well,
now, we're to the point where we ignore that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But if it was anybody else trying to do that, when you have this idea and it's still basically just an idea, no action's been taken to make it into a reality, that's the easiest time for it to get destroyed.
Oh,
is when you start sharing that idea with other people and they shoot it down. Because why? You don't have any time invested into it.
Yep.
You don't have any money invested into it. You haven't thought about it all that much. It's still just an idea.
Yep.
Super easy to kill it. Super easy to get.
I mean, when you don't have a foot out the door, it's real easy for somebody to shut it back in your face, you know? Because, I mean, yeah, they're going to look at us and they're going to be like, well, you know, they're from a small town called Portsmouth, Ohio, or, you know, they really don't have the money to do it or anything. Because let's be honest, a lot of the guys that are doing podcasts out there right now, there's some millionaires. There's some, and even if they're not millionaires, there's people out there making $500,000 a year, you know, and they have all the high-tech equipment. They have all the, you know, they have a room, like we're talking about converting the other section of our building into like a little office place with the computers that we can do all the editing and all that. Well, they already got that. They already have big warehouses almost, or buildings, if you were, that have people in there working for them, editing their videos. They have other people, like, you know, coming up with ideas, and all they do is sit down behind a microphone and kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have the, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't have the roadblocks kind of like we do, you know, because, I mean, I'm 22, going to be 23. You're how old?
21, about to be 22 in April.
I mean, and it's me, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Ella, she helps a lot.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as far as it goes for, like, the ideas and a lot of the thinking, we don't have people underneath us. We don't have, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the people with great ideas all the time. You know what I'm talking about?
We don't have people to think for us.
Yes. And it's just like, whatever we do, it's us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a very easy way to tear us down, is if somebody just barely would say something to get in our head, and we'd be like, well, they're right, you know?
Yeah.
We don't have what other people have. But like I said, we're getting really good at learning to let's let crap roll off our back and not worry about it.
Yep.
So, okay. Good. Are you done on that subject?
Done. Yeah.
Okay. So, number 2 I got is get set in a healthy routine. I'm not saying like a workout routine. That's not what I mean by healthy. What I mean by healthy is something that will bring joy and bring, you know, great results to your life. So if that's getting up 2 hours before you go to work and reading a book, I don't personally, but somebody else might, you know, that might be what they need to get their brain started for the day.
Yep.
Or a lot of athletes are doing like ice baths in the mornings. Definitely not doing that.
You would not catch me in a ice cold bathtub.
Oh,
no.
Heck no. But I mean, you know, that's a routine that they've set for themselves every day.
Yeah.
You know, like for a Christian person, you know, reading your Bible every day. Like a lot of people, like my grandma, she's 97. I was talking to her the other night and she said, you know, I'm going to read the Bible all the way through again. So she says, I'm reading book or a chapter in the Old Testament in the mornings, and I'm reading a chapter in the New Testament in the evenings. And that's just like, that's a routine for her now.
Mm-hmm.
Gets up, and that's how you kind of get your day going. Just something to take your mind off of the negativities in the world and kind of be positive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I kind of think of this is how I think of a routine. Like you kind of already explained it. A routine, your specific routine that you create should make a positive impact into your day.
Absolutely.
No matter like what it is, it should always be positive.
Yep.
Like whatever, it's going to obviously depend on whoever's doing it, but it should only be called a routine for a certain period of time. Eventually, that routine should just not even be a routine.
It should just be daily life.
It is just a part of your life. I think I read this. It was probably on Facebook. I don't know. I'm not on Facebook much. I don't know where I read it, but they said a couple studies showed that I think it was between 30 to 60 days of doing something can either break or create
a new habit.
Yep. So if you just did your morning routine that you planned out, and like each step of the routine should have meaning and purpose.
Yep.
It shouldn't just be like a thing that you do. Like, I'm going to walk 10 steps just to do it.
Yeah, just to do it. No, you got to want to do it.
Like, it's got to have some sort of meaningful and impactful way.
Yeah.
I don't know how to fully explain
you know,
it.
I saw,
you know what I'm saying.
I heard a guy say one time, he said, the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning, he said, is make your bed. He said, because if your day's crap, at least you get to come home to a nice made bed. And I was like, you know what? That's actually a really good point.
That's true. That's true.
You come home and you're like, well, at least I did one thing right today.
Yeah.
Unlike me, I just roll out of bed and I'm like, yeah, it'll be there for me when I get home. And that's what looks good to me whenever I come in. My bed's like, come on, lay down. I'm like,
at least no one else has been in it.
I know. I'm like, I'm on my way.
Somebody can make a bed, but they can't put it how you left it.
And I'm like, Mom would come in and she'd be like, Mason, your room's a mess. I said, but I know where everything's at.
I know exactly.
Said,
you're looking for that paper clip from last week?
Right there. Don't touch it. I know where it's at. It's an organized mess.
Yes. And that's honestly true for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember, I think it's people with like ADHD. I don't know. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where this is a good example of me. I love things organized.
OCD.
But I cannot keep it organized, but I still know where everything is at.
Okay, I have no clue what's wrong with you then.
I don't either.
That was so confusing.
Like, for example, if I were to clean out like my bookshelves, got all my camera stuff, all that, I make it look nice and neat. I'm like, oh man, this looks so good. And then I'll grab something off to use. I won't put it back. Right? I won't put it back. I think it maybe just be like a discipline thing where I just don't put it back.
Or you just have short-term memory loss.
But I will, once I set that down, it's burned into my brain.
Oh, you know where it's at.
I will always know where everything is at, no matter where it is.
That's like whenever I come in from work, I take my keys, and you'd think I'd put them in my room by my nightstand. Nope, I walk right into the living room, and I drop them on the coffee table. So that every time I go somewhere, I'm like, I need my keys. I walk right to the coffee table.
Yeah.
I mean, my wallet and everything can go in my room. It don't matter. Mm-hmm. But if my keys aren't sitting there, I'm like, okay, I have no clue where they're at. I have no idea where they're at.
So number 2 on my list is always be your biggest critic in every aspect of life.
I agree with that.
No one's going to do it for you.
No.
No one is going to go out of their way to make sure you're the best version of yourself as possible.
No, absolutely.
The only way to do that is to be your own and biggest critic. Everything you do, you should at some point in time. It doesn't have to be immediately after, or it doesn't have to be this long thought out process. Yep. But after every big decision or big advance that you take in your life, you need to think about it.
Yep.
And you need to critique yourself. Okay,
how can I get better?
What did I do right? What did I do wrong?
Mm-hmm.
What's that scale like?
Yep.
The right to wrong scale. And how can I improve myself? Like we say, literally every day, 1% better every single day. And that will take you so far.
That's actually a very good point, just because, people don't push themselves to that. I mean, they're fine with the bare minimum.
Yeah.
You know, just what whatever kind of gives them that warm, fuzzy feeling for a little bit. You know, they don't want to really get outside their comfort zone and really try anything new. You know.
Yeah, I think I said this in the last episode, but I heard this, and it's so true because I did it all the time. The biggest reason people fail is because they give up for what they want most for what they want now, and that is completely true. A lot of people are like, well, 10 years down the road you can have this, or you can have this right now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have this right now.
It looks great in retrospect.
So I'm gonna take it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, like we can use this as a synonym. It's like, okay, well, that car over there is $15,000. Okay, now let me think. How long would it take me to save up $15,000? Okay, I got that number in my head. But if I go to a bank, take out a loan, they'll give me $15,000 a lot quicker, and I can get it right now. But what you don't see is, okay, you go to the bank, you get your loan, whatever. You go pick up your car or truck, whatever it is. Okay, nice. Now you're driving around in a brand new car or truck. Well, the next month rolls around. Oh, I got to make payments on this.
Yeah, now you're over budget.
Yeah, now you're like, okay, so it would have taken me this long to save up this amount of money, but instead I'm waiting this long
to just catch back up.
with it. And it's like, okay, so if I'd have waited an extra 3 weeks, 4 weeks, I would have had the money, but I wanted it right now, so now I won't be paying on it longer than 3 or 4 weeks, So it's like you said, it's like eye candy is what everybody wants. They don't want the stuff that actually fills them up.
Yeah.
And that's another big thing with like today's society is people don't have patience anymore.
Mm-mm.
They don't have the willpower to like stay away from that kind of stuff anymore.
How long did it take us to get up and running, like on wheels, for this podcast? How long have we actually been
we've talked about it for a long time.
Yeah.
But we actually started putting it into motion probably a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we just actually had our first official podcast. Was that last night or night before last?
2 days ago, I think.
Yeah. So, these wasn't free.
Yeah.
This wasn't free. That camera wasn't free.
Just like the example you gave, we took time and saved up money for what we wanted.
Yep.
For it to look like we didn't settle for junk equipment or a junk. We're not doing this outside in the middle of a field. I mean, granted, we're not in the best location ever, but we've made it. Yeah. We've made it work.
Yeah. I mean, even like this, we could have went out and bought a table for. Let's be honest. I was looking at chairs and they were like $100 a piece or something like that.
They were expensive.
So I'd hate to see what a table would cost, but I mean, luckily with the background that I have and you have, we could build a table and make it our own instead of getting it from someone else.
Yeah.
It's just the little things that matter.
When you yourself are in every part of something you want to make bigger, it just has this different level of gratification, like in the end product.
Makes it worth it.
Yes, 100%.
So, with all that being said, my number 3 question was pretty much the same as yours about, other people's opinions and all that. So I'm going to skip over that one.
Okay.
So my number 4 on the list, which now will be my number 3, was don't be content with where you are. There's always room for improvement.
I like that one.
Don't be the guy that knows it all.
Mm-hmm.
And don't be the guy that has it all. Because truth is that guy don't know it all, and the truth is that guy don't have it all.
Mm-mm.
But it's real easy to put on a face. I was reading this one place on, I think it was Facebook. This one was. And a guy said, $3,000 to somebody that can manage money is a lot of money. But $3,000 to somebody that can't manage money is about as valuable as $1.
Mm-hmm.
Because that people will almost always say, I need to make more money. I can't make more money. Well, if you don't know how to manage your money, it don't matter how much money you make because you're still going to blow through it like you do now.
Mm-hmm.
And but you won't want to take that responsibility. You won't want to be like, no, I'm right. And that's where they go wrong. And that's where you see all these people crumble and fall.
And a lot of that's just your ego.
Yep.
That's just your ego. it don't matter who the person is.
Mhm.
They could be homeless. They could be everything under the sun. Been to jail. Been to prison. I guarantee you that you could still learn from them.
Oh, absolutely.
Everybody you talk to, it don't matter what their background is. It don't matter nothing.
Mhm.
They hold a valuable piece of information somewhere that you don't have.
Yeah.
That you might not ever get if you don't shut up and listen.
Exactly. Sometimes the best conversations you're ever going to be in, you don't say a word.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that have so much intelligent stuff to say that if you just sit back and just listen, you don't need to talk.
Mm-mm.
That's the kind of stuff that'll kind of get drilled into your brain, and you're like, oh, like you'll think back later on in life, I remember when this guy said this, and now it makes sense, or I remember when I saw him say or do this at one point. Now I understood why he does it that way. And it's just like I said, once you get out of that, I'm better than you, I know more than you, I make more money than you, look what I have mentality, you're going to be a all-around better person. Because you can look at people, like famous people at this point, you can see what some famous people took to fame and just run them. I mean, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on watches and necklaces and this and that. But then I'll use Adam Sandler, for example. The dude's still walking around in like And1 basketball shorts and New Balances and like starter shirts.
Like every single day.
Yeah, I mean, he's a normal person.
Yeah.
I mean, he puts his pants on the same way I put mine on. I mean, granted, his pants might cost a little bit more than mine, but, he puts them on the same way.
They're probably not starched.
No,
either.
they're not, dude, I'm telling you. The starch jeans. Now, I know, listen, I'm the best at knowing jeans, okay? And nobody's going to take the starch away from me.
Okay, back to what...
Even John.
Back to what you were talking about.
Okay, yeah. But just don't let the actually big things in life or big accomplishments overrule your actual personality.
Yeah, everybody has a job. Everybody deals with the same stuff.
Yep.
And I was going to say this earlier, but like the Adam Sandler versus whoever else you want to say, whatever. Well, he's got the watches. Which Adam Sandler has the money, but let's take the money away from Adam Sandler for a minute. He's just a normal guy. And then you have this guy who's making $1 million, famous actor, whatever. He's got the money. He's got the houses. He's got the boats. He's got the cars. He's got the watches. He's got the girls, all that stuff. All right. How's your marriage?
Yeah.
How good of a father are you?
Yeah.
What's your relationship with your parents? When's the last time you went to a family event?
Yep.
When's the last, there's so many aspects of life that you have to keep in check.
I mean, Tom Brady and his wife got divorced over football.
That's it.
I mean, he's an NFL quarterback making millions, but evidently his home life sucked.
Mm-hmm.
When you take all that attention away from your family, what do you really have in life?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there's going to be a certain point where you're not going to play sports anymore, or you're not going to be an actor anymore, but you're still going to have to be a father and a husband.
Always.
But if you're going to let the things of now take over the things of later, you're going to be losing so much more. Because, the guy was a great quarterback. But how did that translate into, like, daily life?
Yeah, and we don't know how he feels about that.
No.
I don't know if he's ever, come out and spoke on that or anything, but he's retired now.
Yeah.
He could be seriously regretting it. We don't know.
Absolutely. It's just like one of them things that, you can throw a football, but can you cook your kids waffles, Probably not.
Well, all I do is just stick them in the microwave and there's no cooking involved.
The microwave or toaster?
The microwave, the toaster. Gee whiz, you're catching me off track here. All right, so you did your number 3, but you skipped over it, right?
Yeah, because ours were like the same.
Yeah. Okay, so my number 3 is the hardest thing to do is get started.
It's a very good point.
The hardest thing to do is to get started. It's hard to take the jump. It's hard to take the risk.
Mm-hmm.
But once you do it, everything else will fall into place.
Absolutely.
If you take it serious
and
it's something that you actually want to pursue and you actually, enjoy.
Yep.
If it's like you think you might enjoy and take a leap, you're probably going to fail.
Yep. You got to really put it all into it.
You have to.
Just like every morning, I got a routine now. You know, I wake up, get some clothes on, I go outside, go ahead and get Nellie her water ready and all that good stuff. And, you know, down the hill, you give her food, you water, open her stall. Yeah, it might not seem like much to a whole lot of people, but, you know, that's how my day gets started. So right from that point, you know, I'm awake, I'm aware, I'm constantly moving forward the rest of my day. But if I don't do all that in the mornings, say I don't start until 11:30 or 12, I've ruined half of my morning already. You know, like there's from 7 o'clock in the morning till about around here, 6:30 is when it starts to get dark.
I think a little bit closer to 7
closer
now.
to 7. But I mean, that's the time frame that you have to do X, Y, Z, you know. Well, if you get started late, you might only get to do, you know, Z.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but you're wasting half your day anyways, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't value their time. You know, they don't keep track. And I mean, we don't sleep a whole lot.
No,
I mean,
especially these past couple of days.
I mean, it's like we're up at I'm normally up, I text you like 2 times randomly in the middle of the night probably.
Yeah, we'll text back and forth like randomly in literally the middle of the night,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6 a.m.
I mean, I remember one night I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning and texted you. I fell back asleep, and he had texted me at 3 o'clock in the morning, texted me back. Well, then I woke back up at about 4:30 in the morning, so I texted him back, and I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, dude, what is wrong with us? I mean, it don't help that my dog is an idiot, but daggone. John will get so many texts in the middle of the night, and I'll be like, I'm going to kill Todd. I sent him a picture one day. I mean, Todd had barked for I think 4 nights straight. I mean, I'm talking like, and their pen is like right by my bedroom.
Yeah.
And he's barking and he's barking and he's barking, and I was like, we'll take a pistol out here. And if there's nothing out here, I swear on everything I want to kill Todd. And I sent John a picture, and it was me holding the Glock, and I said, point of view, about to kill Todd. And
Poor Todd.
I went out, and he just kind of looked at me like, hey, man, what are you doing out here? And I'm thinking, we'll kill you.
Yeah, but the reason we've been losing sleep, well, my reason, obviously his reason's Todd, but no, he's been losing sleep over all this too, but is, you know, all we're doing now is thinking and planning and trying to take the next step with this.
I mean, we planned out, you know, this podcast, but we're already ahead now. Like, we're already planning what the next one's going to be like.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, we're fully here in this one. Like, we're fully engrossed in this one. But if we don't look ahead, the next podcast that we have up, I mean, we got to be prepared for it too. You can't just...
Yeah, you can't just be sitting around scratching your head.
Yeah, I mean, you
don't get anything done.
No, if we're not, you know, moving our business forward, then we're taking steps back, because the longer it takes us to find out what the next one's going to be about, people are going to be uninterested.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we have to keep a routine and keep going at the same pace that we're going now, or we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be that much harder to get people back watching or interacting with us if they're like, man, you know, they put out good videos, but
where are they at?
Yeah, it's like one every 4 weeks, 5
Yeah.
weeks. And me and John even talked. I'm going to Chicago. Actually, it's the end of this month, I think it's very end of this month, or it might be the first week of March. And, you know, we're talking about how we're going to do this while I'm there. And he's like, no, I got it covered. He's like, I can, you know, we can almost do like a FaceTime video thing, and we can still do it when you're out of town. So, like, we're already thinking a month ahead.
Yeah.
How we're going to keep going with this, you know? So, I mean, I think that's a pretty neat concept that, yeah, you know, we're in the moment right now. We know what we're going to do here, but like 2 months later or 3 months down the road, you know, we know what we're going to do then too.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing.
It it's stressful to plan that far
Yeah.
ahead, but it takes so much stress off.
Yeah, once you
You
get
know
there.
what I mean?
Yep. Because I mean, obviously we're going to be like shooting ideas back and forth on like what this segment's going to be on or what that segment's going to be on. So we take, like you said, a little bit of the stress off of us whenever we get to that point.
Yeah.
So it's not a head scratcher.
We're not in this podcast like trying to shoot stuff off the top of our head.
No.
You know, we have it. I mean, obviously we have it all written down, planned out. We've talked about this episode, you know, stuff like that.
I mean, like the last episode we did, which it should, by the time this one gets out, you guys should actually be seeing it.
Oh yeah.
The last probably 30 minutes of that podcast is all mostly like on our beliefs and like how we
I
believe.
think it was longer than that,
Was
man.
it?
I'm saying probably close to almost an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, an hour then. You'll see like, you know, what we believe in and how we believe. And now that was right off the top of the head. We didn't write any of that down.
No, all that stuff was like, all right.
It was like
Let's
boom, boom,
do it.
boom, boom, boom. It's there. And, you know, and that's nice.
Yeah.
Because, you know, me and John, we believe really close to similar. Like we're right there. We're really close together. And then his girlfriend Ella, you know, she's right there as well, you know, so we don't have to worry about arguing about certain things. Like we're not going to agree on everything.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just part of life. But when it comes to our religious values, which I hate using the word religion just because I think religion's dumb, but our salvational values, we all kind of think alike. So we don't have to really worry about clashing on that.
Yeah. No one's going to get upset that we...
No.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's probably going to be people upset that watch that video.
Now that's a different story.
But
yeah.
at the same time, you know, that's our beliefs and that's what we believe in. And if you don't want to, I don't want to say if you don't want to agree with that, don't watch it. But I mean, in the same time, you got to know what we're about too.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, we're not going to
intentionally make people mad.
Yeah, we're not trying to intentionally make people mad. And we're also not going to change who we are to please other people.
I mean, if you don't like it, I mean, you don't have to watch it.
Yeah, you go watch. How many other podcasts are there that you can go watch?
I mean,
on YouTube.
And let's be honest, whenever you see our podcast pop up, you're probably going to be like,
"Jank."
Yeah, what the heck's that? They got a table and sheets hung up. What? Who are these people?
Yeah.
But you're also going to get them people that look at it and like, oh, I'm kind of interested in what the caption says or whatever, and then they'll watch it and they'll be like, oh, these guys are actually really down to earth, you know?
Yeah.
They're not going to try to showboat their way around everything. And that's what me and John kind of pride ourselves on is we're pretty much an open book.
Yeah, we don't really hide anything.
No, if you ask it, you're going to get it.
Yeah.
But don't ask it if you don't want it.
Don't ask it if you don't want to hear it.
Because it's going to come.
Right.
So,
I think, is it your turn to make a point
yes.
now? Okay.
So this is the last one I have wrote down. Take a few moments from each day to reflect on what you did that day and how to improve. So, you know, kind of like the end of the day when you're getting home, you're getting a shower, you're getting ready for bed, you know, kind of sit back and think about, you know, what I did that day. How did I interact with people? How did I carry myself? You know, just any little thing about that day that maybe I could have talked to that guy. He looked like he needed somebody to talk to, but I didn't.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of little things that you think that you can improve on, because everybody's always got a place to improve.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a stepping stone that you're going to have to get over. But it makes it real easy when you kind of give in to, okay, I can get better here.
Yeah. That kind of... One of my goals I had written down for 2023 was to be more of a critical thinker. And it is hard to be like your own judge.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's hard because obviously you're going to be biased.
Oh, yeah.
And any thought that you might have, like, oh, did I do this right?
Nah,
I didn't do that wrong.
Try to justify yourself a little bit.
Yeah, you try and justify yourself a little bit, and it's hard to have that discipline to be like, well, okay, this is what happened, and this is what I could have done better.
Mm-hmm.
Let's remember that and do it better next time.
Yeah, because nobody's perfect.
Yeah, Self-reflection is one of those things. It's hard to like actually really self-reflect, but once you like get it down, it's helpful.
Because our brain wants to look at nothing but the positives of what we've done.
Yeah.
And I've been very blessed with the ability to see all the wrongs I've done. So it's kind of like, man, Mason, you really suck. But hey, you're getting a little bit better. It's not like, well, I had this one point when I was really good. And it's like, I got to thank God for that one, because he don't really bring the stuff that I've done good up to my mind. It's always like,
hey, you remember that one time you were an idiot?
you remember that one time when you done that and I told you not to do that?
Yeah.
You remember that time? And I'm thinking, yes.
Every time you go, bad joke, Mason.
Yeah, you smack yourself on the hand, you're like, daggone it.
Yeah.
What I do good? It's like, oh, okay, well, there's one thing I done all right.
Yeah.
But it's not like everything I've done, it's not perfect,
Never will be.
No, and I mean, for a while, I had a lot more wrongs than rights. And whenever you kind of come to the realization that, hey, kind of piece of crap person, you need to really, like, get your butt in gear, that's when you start seeing change,
Yep.
That's when you start to realize, hey, are these the kind of people I need to hang out with?
Yeah.
Is this the kind of places I need to be? Because, I mean, I use the analogy, you'll never see a true Christian in a bar.
Mm-mm.
And, there's people that believe, if I can go in the bar and I don't got to drink, go and play pool, go and throw darts, I can just go and do that. But at the end of the day, if you're a true Christian, you're going into that bar, makes you no better than the people that are in there, even if you aren't drinking, because you're in the same place they're at.
That it's not necessarily the same place that they're at, but
you're condoning it.
What it represents, you don't associate yourself with.
And the Bible talks about, Jesus ate with sinners, but he didn't sin.
Yeah, go do it at Wendy's.
Yeah.
Not a bar.
But I mean, whenever you're at a bar and that, let's be honest, alcohol and people don't mix.
Mm-mm.
You get around that whole group and it's just like, well, I thought it was just alcohol and people. And then you start looking around and you truly realize how many people pack around drugs and pack around knives and pack around guns in their pocket. And you're like, it's a really good place to be.
Just recently here in Portsmouth, there's a bar called Frankenstein's.
Yep.
There's bar fights that happen there and all kinds of stuff. But Portsmouth, relatively speaking, I could be speaking wrong, but this is what I believe, is relatively a pretty calm place when it comes to news-breaking incidents.
Yeah, the things that we hear about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And just the other day, there was a scuffle out in the bar, and was it one or two people ended up dead?
That was actually about a month ago, I think. A month or a little bit sooner. There was two guys that worked at Toro Loco. It's a Mexican restaurant we have in Portsmouth, and kind of like a little analogy here. This is probably where the Toro Loco restaurant is, and Frankenstein's, you go up the street, it's about right over there on the road. So, I'm assuming these guys got off work and went up to Frankenstein's to play pool or drink or whatever. It was two Hispanic men.
They were cooks, correct?
I believe so. And they went outside for something, and somebody said they heard it was like an argument going on. They don't know if it was two Hispanic men arguing or who it was. But just a little while later, I guess that a car came by and it shot both of them. And one guy was laying in the middle of the road, and then you got Frankenstein's, and you have a like a little courtyard, and then you have another building on this side, and there was another man laying back in the middle of that opening, and it was on, I think I saw it on Facebook. There was pictures of it where they didn't take them guys out of the street till like 8:30 or 9, I think, in the morning. And that the shooting happened around 1:30 or 2, I believe. So I mean,
that's crazy.
Them guys laid there all day long. They had to have people come in from Columbus, like the coroners and all that stuff. But I was thinking, can't you just take pictures of where they was at and how they was shaped and get them off? Like, why are you leaving them in the middle of the street?
Yeah, I don't know that whole process, but that seems a little long.
Yeah, that's like, okay, we get it. Like, it's terrible. They got killed, but they still have families, and
Now they don't.
nobody wants to see their family member laying in the middle of a road,
Yeah.
But that's just how quick stuff can change, and it's very sad, actually,
Yeah, it is.
just because who knows. See, and that's where the hard part comes. You can't really tell if they were Christian people or not,
Mm-mm.
and the only thing you can go off of is assumptions of, well, they was in a bar, and you don't want that
Exactly.
affiliated with. When you think of me, I don't want you to think
Bar.
or hanging around the wrong crowds,
Yeah.
because you never you'll never find who you're truly meant to be with or be around in a party state. Like, that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to find. Now, there's probably some genuine people that go to them places, but I don't think you're truly going to find out who you are or who somebody else is by being in that situation all the time.
No.
Just because, like you said, you're not just associating yourself with a bar, you're associating yourself with alcohol, with fights, with all the negatives that come out of that.
Like, no one can sit down and tell me that they know a bar where none of that stuff happens.
There was
no fights, no drugs, no, you know what I mean? Like, every bar ever has all that stuff.
There was I remember there was a bar fight in Portsmouth that they got it on video, and the guy got thrown through the H&R Block window.
Oh my gosh.
Like, through the glass window.
Seriously?
Yep. And it was, you turn and look, and all you see is a bunch of people running out. And next thing you know, there's like 10 guys on one man.
Really?
Yep. And they didn't knock him out. Old boy was standing there going toe-to-toe with all of them. And, they knocked him down. It's 10-on-1. But, I mean, he got back up.
Yeah.
And I was like, what happened for that to happen? But then again, there it is, the bar life.
Yep.
Who knows what happened?
It
could be as simple as him stepping on your shoe.
Or it could
have
been
the wrong way.
Hey, man, I bet you won't go punch him.
There's probably a lot of that.
Could be anything. Whose point are we on? I'm lost.
You.
I'm on my point?
Yep.
Okay.
I said my last one.
Okay. So this is something I might have to explain a little bit, but this is the best way I could. And I think we've already kind of talked about this a little bit, but I'll have to explain a little bit. A dream and a compromise are not the same thing. So what I mean by that is, for example, you're in a business. You work a 9-to-5 job, whatever. And it is your dream to, I'm just going to make a random scenario and say you're going to be a kayak instructor. That is your dream. And you make X amount of money. And right before you leave the company, they hit you with the promotion.
Yeah.
Now, are you going to settle for the compromise and think and convince yourself that it's your dream, or are you going to go be a kayak instructor?
That's the $1 million question.
That's the $1 million question. A lot of people settle for compromises and not their actual dream and end up to regret it.
Kind of goes along with what we said earlier, where, you could have something 10 years from now, but you want what's there now.
Yes, like I said, we already kind of hit some points about that, but yeah. And, if you don't have a dream right now, or that's fine. A lot of people think they need to have it figured out or right when they graduate high school.
Mm-hmm.
They need to have their life planned out, who they're going to be with, what they're going to live in, where they're going to have a job at, how much money they're going to make. Listen, when you figure life out?
When you're dead.
When you're dead.
Yep.
You don't ever figure life out. Life always changes. Life always throws things at you. You're never going to figure it out.
I always thought I was stuck at the job that I was at before priorly switching jobs.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought, I'd wake up and be miserable. And I'd be like, I got to do this for how many more years? What time is it right now? I'm not getting off till this time. Just kind of like real monotone, okay, I'll go to work. Okay, I worked all day, I'm going home. I'm going to go to the gym or go to sleep, whatever.
You just got yourself in this just divot.
I was just surviving.
Yeah.
Every day, doing the same thing. Hating life. Not hating life, but hating what I was doing.
Yeah.
And, then my boss now, which is a great guy, you've met Nate.
Mm-hmm.
He got a hold of us one day and he said, because Dad had worked for him previously, and he said, I got a job. You want to go? Dad's like, yeah, we'll go. He said, can I bring Mason? And because me and Dad always talk, and I said, Dad, if there's a better opportunity for you, I said, don't worry about me here. I was like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, it just so happens he was able to take both of us. So, after hating what I'd done for 5 years, turned into, hey, I kind of like this. It's kind of neat, kind of interesting. Plus, I'm getting to travel everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like if I would have just stayed in the same place that I was at, where would I be now?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be happy.
No.
I was a hateful person.
I tell you
when I was
what, too, we wouldn't be doing this.
Oh, no.
Wouldn't have time.
Nope.
Ever.
I would, I was a very hateful person when I worked at that place. And,
I mean, like you said, you kind of talked about this in the last podcast, but you would run 2-3 hours sleep a night, wake up, do it again.
Yeah.
Just because of the way your schedule was.
Yep.
And, eventually that's going to wear a person down.
Oh, absolutely. That the place that we're at now, if we stay in a hotel, they pay us. They give us money for our room and give us money for food for the week or whatever. That place we was at, we got 35 cents after 50 miles for every mile is what we got for gas.
So you got paid after the 50-mile mark.
35 cents a mile.
And then you made 35 cents a mile.
Yep. So after I drove 50 miles.
How many miles was your drive? Typically.
Like
I know it was all in the Columbus region.
It was like 70 miles.
70 miles. So
So-
you're getting paid for like a quarter of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that much. And,
Yeah.
pay up there wasn't great. I remember at one point I had signed up for the sheriff's department. And my boss up there had found out, I had lie detectors I had to do and all this and that. Well, he called and he said, I heard you was leaving, I'm not going to be mad at you if you leave, kind of how bosses act.
Yeah.
He said, but I want to let you know, like, we gave you this much more money on the hour, and the time it sounded like, oh, great. But there I was just settling,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, if they're giving me this, they're good for me, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But in retrospect, they didn't care about me.
Mm-mm.
They didn't care if I was there or not. All they wanted was numbers.
Yeah.
Now I've talked to people that still are at that job, and they're letting go of 80 people. They're letting go of 90 people.
Going under.
It's like they fired a really good superintendent that I worked for up there, and they fired a really good layout person, which is pretty much like an engineer almost.
Mm-hmm.
They learn how to do all the dimensions and a bunch of different things. And I asked her, I said, what they get rid of you for? And they said they had no place to put me. And I went, seriously? She said, yep. I went, okay, so before we left up there, they told us we had X amount of jobs starting up, and we were going to have all these places to put people, but they didn't have a place for you? I was like, okay, I kind of see how this is working.
Yeah.
And this is after me and Dad had left.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, if we would have stayed, okay, they might have kept us, but for how long? I mean, there's no guarantee that we was going to be working the next summer.
And then one day they're going back, well, you ain't got a job no more.
Ain't got no place to put you.
Yeah. How long did your dad work for that company?
So, Dad worked for, I'm trying to think, whenever I was in 5th grade, I believe he started up there. And then...
Wait, what did you just say?
5th grade. Did I say when I was up there? When I was in 5th grade, Dad started there. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said Dad started when he was in 5th grade. I was like, what?
I probably did. Because I told you earlier, I said, yeah, whenever I go to California, you said, California? You're going to California?
You mean Chicago?
You mean Chicago?
Yeah, I meant Chicago.
Oh, my goodness. If you can't tell, we might be a little bit tired here, but, no, he started up there, I think, when I was in the 5th grade. And then my brother's senior year, he came home and worked for a local contractor for a year. And then he went with a union company, I believe. And then he went back to the company that me and him started at, or that I started at. And then my senior year of high school, he went with the company that we're for now, and he was in Texas for pretty much my whole senior year.
Yeah.
You know, he's making good money, and he was like, dude, like, I made this much out there. And I was like, dude, no freaking way. Like, for real? Like, let me see your bank statement. Let me see that.
Liar.
And so whenever we got the call, and he was like, hey, I got work, and it's steady work. Like, dad left that last one. He's like, hey, if I take him, I will work for you guys if you give me an honest layoff.
Yeah.
Because he said, you know, I don't want to miss all of Mason's senior year.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave him an honest layoff. You know, every time they'd call Dad after that, Dad would be like, man, I really don't have anybody to travel with. You know, I don't want to travel all by myself. Well, it finally worked out the right way whenever, you know, I'd been working with him for about 5 years. It was like he got the call again. I mean, this guy would call him, Nate would call him like on the regular.
Yeah.
I'd be like, hey, like, you want to come back? Come on. And then finally, Nate just kind of stopped for a little bit just because, I mean, you're not going to keep kicking a dead horse, you know?
Yeah.
So whenever it came down to it and they had the opening, we jumped on it. I was like, Dad was talking to me. He's like, how do you feel about traveling? I said, how many suitcases am I packing? You know, I was ready to go.
Yeah.
At that point, I'd kind of seen what I needed to see. I'd seen how they treated us, and I was like, all right, let's roll.
Yeah.
And I mean, ironically enough, Nate used to live about 5 minutes from us. He lives down on the west side now, but that's how I got Nelly. I mean, that's how I got the trailer. That's how I got, you know, all these different skill sets now from just kind of taking that leap,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's a great experience.
Yeah, you didn't just get a job.
No.
Like it's funny how opportunities work because just because you took it, like in the beginning it was just a job.
Yeah.
You were just taking
Just
a
a
job to
paycheck.
get out from well, now you finally accomplished getting a horse, which you've
Mhm.
been wanting
For years.
for years. You're learning how to live, you know, all that lifestyle. Now you get to travel because you've wanted to travel. You know, you
Yep.
always want to travel. So you don't know what's going to become of
No.
any sort of decision. And that reminds, like, a good way of, have you ever heard the story of the Chinese turnip farmer?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So basically how it goes is there is a Chinese turnip farmer,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a horse. The horse plows the field for them. They go plant the turnips. They sell the turnips to survive. Well, one day, his son's out there plowing the field with the horse, and the horse just gives up and just runs off in the woods. Just, you know. So, well, he goes in and tells his dad what happens. He goes, you know, it's a terrible thing. The horse ran away. He's like, well, you know, I can't call it yet. He's
Yep.
like, what do you mean? It's a bad thing? He's like, well, you know, I can't call it yet. Well, a couple days go by. Horse comes back, brings 40 other horses with him. And his son goes in and tells his dad, Dad, the horse came back with 40 other horses. You know, this is a great thing. His dad's like, well, you know, I don't call it yet. We don't know.
Yep.
We don't know. So all the townspeople come in, like, oh, you're going to make so much money. All, you know, this, you're going to be able to sell these horses or whatever. Well, then one of the horses goes ballistic, shatters the son's foot. You know, this is ancient China. They don't go down to the doctor's office and get patched up with a cast and come back home. No, they're like, you know, here's a rag, bite on it.
Yep. We're going
See
to
you
put
in a
this
few
thing
days,
back in.
you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, everyone came over and said, oh, this is a terrible thing. And he goes, well, I don't know. I can't call it yet. Well, then here comes 5,000 samurai over the hill because they're going to war against the country next to him,
Mm-hmm.
and they're taking everyone's first son. Well, his dad told him he's got a shattered foot. He can't go to war.
Yeah.
You know, they can't. And they said, all right, and they left, and all 5,000 men died.
Yeah.
You know? So you never know,
The outcome.
good or bad, you can't call it
Yep.
until you are able to sit down and look back on it.
Yeah, and visualize
Yeah.
what could have happened. Yep.
So,
And that's a very good point. You know, we didn't, taking this other job, we didn't just take a job. You know, I'm meeting people from different walks of life that I never thought I'd meet. You know, the
Mhm.
people in Columbus, you're pretty set who you're going to meet. I mean, there's a lot of Hispanic people up there, and there's a lot of American people up there. You know, But where we're at now, there's people that are from Costa Rica that come over and work for us, and I mean just a bunch of different country people, and not only that, but like different people from different states.
Yeah.
I didn't have that opportunity whenever I was in Columbus. They were all from Ohio. Now I'm meeting people from Alabama. I'm meeting people from Indiana. I'm meeting people from Louisiana. I'm
Literally everywhere.
I'm meeting all these
Yeah.
different people and how they operate, even in just different parts of our country. Because people up here, whenever it got really cold up there, all those people from Ohio or whatever were like, yeah, just throw in another jacket, whatever, go on with it.
Yeah.
You got these people from Alabama. They're like, dude, how do you guys work in this?
How are you guys working? Yeah.
Well, like, what do you mean? It's just another day in Ohio. Tomorrow's going to be 85. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, bring your shorts. We're going swimming.
So, I mean, it's just really cool to think of. I was talking to one guy, and I think it was in the 20s, maybe even lower. And I was like, dude, what's it feel like in Alabama right now? He's like, man, when I left, it was like 70. I went, that'd be nice. He's like, it was a little chilly. I went, chilly?
70 degrees, you're chilly?
All right. Well,
yeah.
I'll take that 70 degrees up here if you don't want it.
Any day of the week, absolutely.
But it's like I said, it's just a different walks of life and how they look at things. Like 70 degrees to them is a little chilly. 70 degrees to us is a heat wave.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, I'd be content working in 65-degree weather all year round.
Mm-hmm.
And to some people, that'd be colder than crap.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do it. And it's just like, okay, well, I see what your body's acclimated to.
Yeah.
And in Ohio, I guess we're pretty lucky that we can kind of acclimate to any kind of weather because we get it all.
Oh, we get variety.
Mm-hmm.
We are versatile. Well, we are almost through all of our points. We are going to take a quick break. It is going to be a little while for us, but for you, it's just going to be a couple seconds. So we will be right back.
And we're back with Mason and John. We're actually getting ready to wrap this one up. I think we've had a bit of decent content here. I think
yeah, this one I enjoyed this one.
If it hasn't helped anybody else, it's helped me. So
yeah, 100%. Sometimes it's you don't really realize something. You might like talk about it, but until like you sit down and talk about it, you surprise yourself sometimes.
Oh yeah, I mean you really start to see what's going on in your mind, and you see what's going on in mine. And honestly,
I don't think
I would not want him to be in my head because
I don't know if I want to see what's up in there.
But we have been discussing what our next podcast is going to be, so I'll turn it over to John and let him explain a little bit more about that.
Yes, definitely stay tuned. Well, not stay tuned, but keep your eye out for the next episode. The title of that is going to be Stop Horsing Around, Tips and Tricks on Horseplay and Everything Western. That podcast is going to be kind of directed toward Mason and kind of how he started his whole cowboy lifestyle, how he's grown an interest for it, and how he's trying to rope me in as well. As you can tell, this isn't usually how I dress, but
I got him going now.
But something about being around this guy.
Tell you what, I'm gonna get him in a pair of blue jean square-toed boots and a cowboy hat, and I'm gonna put him on a horse sooner or later, and he's gonna learn. So
we'll have to see about that. But thank you guys for watching.
We will try to get that one done probably within the next week or so.
It'll be up pretty soon.
Yeah, just depending on our schedules here. John, sometimes his schedule kind of goes later in the evening than we would like, and let's be honest, we've all been there. Whenever you work pretty late, it's kind of hard to wake up early the next day and kind of get motivated. So, I mean, we're human too.
Hey, but if you got a routine.
If you got a routine. But, I mean, sometimes, you get tired.
You do get tired.
So, we're going to probably go ahead and get ready to cut this one off here. We appreciate you guys watching. We've actually talked. We're going to try to get some koozie or cup holder koozies things made with our logos on them. Maybe some T-shirts. John's been kind of trying to figure out a design for the podcast. So, kind of whatever's going on in his brain over there. I can see smoke rolling out of his ears. So
listen, it's been nonstop, dude.
I mean, I'll say this and then I'll shut up and let John do his little outro thing. But, this is something that you might look at us and see two halfway grown men. But, whenever we talk about doing a segment or doing a podcast, it takes me back to being about 9 or 10 years old again, real fuzzy and happy. You know,
Get you
so,
real excited.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, really enjoying what we're doing so far. So, like I said, I'll shut up and I'll let John do his little thing, and then we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah.
So,
Like I said, stay tuned for the next episode. We're going to deep dive into late Mason's Western lifestyle a little bit more. We're going to talk about that. And guys, just remember 1% better every single day, and you'll get what you want. Thank you for watching. Leave some comments down below on some podcast topics. Leave a like. Share this with as many people as you like to. Trust me, we are not going to hinder that in any form. And we'll catch you on the next one. Have a good night, guys.
Have a good night.